Good morning. It is time for our daily lectionary readings for Tuesday, June 22nd. Today, what do we have on tap for today? We have Psalm 119. We're still working on that one, verses 113 to 128. 1 Samuel 19, 1 to 7. Our continuing saga of David and Saul. And Acts 27, 39 to 44. So let us begin, shall we? Psalm 119. I hate the double-minded, but I love your law. You are my hiding place and my shield. I hope in your word. Go away from me, you evildoers, that I may keep the commandments of my God. Uphold me according to your promise, that I may live, and let me not be put to shame in my hope. Hold me up, that I may be safe, and have regard for your statutes continually. You spurn all who go astray from your statutes, for their cunning is in vain. All the wicked of the earth you count as dross, and therefore I love your decrees. My flesh trembles for fear of you, and I am afraid of your judgments. I have done what is just and right. Do not leave me to my oppressors. Guarantee your servant's well-being. Do not let the godless oppress me. My eyes fail from watching for your salvation and for the fulfillment of your righteous promise. Deal with your servant according to your steadfast love and teach me your statutes. I am your servant. Give me understanding so that I may know your decrees. It is a time for the Lord to act, for your law has been broken. Truly, I love your commandments more than gold, more than fine gold. Truly, I direct my steps by all your precepts. I hate every false way. All right, and let's go to Samuel, 1 Samuel 19, 1 to 7. By the way, here later today, there'll be I'm going to be posting the Bible Project videos. I'll do 1 Samuel today. I'll do 2 Samuel tomorrow. So it gives that nice, I like the Bible Project videos over the books of the Bible. They give a nice overview. And they're entertaining. So you learn and you get entertained at the same time. That's a win-win. So yesterday we had Saul saying he wasn't offering his daughter Michal to David. He had already tried to marry off one daughter to David and ended up giving her to somebody else. He offered Michal, but he wanted 100 Philistine foreskins. Since David did not have a dowry, a bride price, hoping that the Philistines would kill David. Well, they didn't. David brings 200 Philistine foreskins to Saul. So he ends up marrying Michal. That'll come in later. So yesterday kind of ended with Michal. Michal loved David. The relationship is not going to go well. I'll give you that little heads up. But this is still early days. So we have the David and Michal, and we're going to pause that story and kind of go back to Saul and trying to kill David and Jonathan in this section. So 19:1 to 7. Saul spoke with his son Jonathan and with all his servants about killing David. He wasn't discreet about it, was he? But Saul's son Jonathan took great delight in David. And Jonathan told David, "My father Saul is trying to kill you. Therefore, be on guard tomorrow morning. Stay in a secret place and hide yourself. I will go out and stand beside my father in the field where you are, and I will speak to my father about you. If I learn anything, I will tell you." And Jonathan spoke well of David to his father Saul, saying to him, "The king should not sin against his servant David, because he has not sinned against you, and because his deeds have been of good service to you. For he took his life in hand when he attacked the Philistines, and the Lord brought about a great victory for all Israel. You saw it and rejoiced. So Why then will you sin against an innocent person by killing David without cause? Saul heeded the voice of Jonathan. Saul swore, as the Lord lives, he shall not be put to death. So Jonathan called David and related all these things to him. And Jonathan then brought David to Saul, and he was in his presence as before. Keep in mind that we're not just weaving multiple plots as we go through Samuel, 1st and 2nd Samuel, but we have these basically two. There are multiple traditions where we two different versions of the story, and the editor, the compiler, has woven those together to create one story. But sometimes that means it seems like we jump back and forth. So as we go through and the lectionary does not help in some regards because it takes a small chunk. And sometimes you'll read it and go, wait a minute, that doesn't seem to go with what we did yesterday or the day before yesterday. And that's because we're kind of doing this jumping from stream to stream from these two different versions of the story that were put together. So I think it always helps to read in bigger chunks or to just read entire books. Chapter and verse divisions are artificial divisions. They were not in the scriptures as written. Chapters weren't, I think it was in the 500s, and verses were later than that. They were like the 1500s, early 1500s, when they were divided up that way. It's a handy way to make reference, but sometimes those divisions are kind of artificial and they get in the way. And then, like I said, the way the lectionary gives you a chunk, you're getting the fancy term is a pericope. It's just a little section, a little snippet, and we need to keep in mind what's coming before, what's coming after, how it fits into the overall. I will try to keep track of that as we do these videos, but some of that I kind of hope you're doing on your own where you're reading larger chunks. All right, enough of me yammering on. Let's go to Acts. Remember, we ended on a cliffhanger yesterday, right? The ship was in a storm. It was heading towards the shore. There was nothing they could do to stop it. And Saul had told them they would live if they did what he said. So, Acts 27:39-44. In the morning, they did not recognize the land, but they noticed a bay with a beach on which they planned to run the ship ashore if they could. They couldn't stop it, so they're going to try to land in a soft spot, basically. So they cast off the anchors and left them in the sea. At the same time, they loosened the ropes that tied the steering oars and then hoisted the foresail to the wind. They made for the beach. But striking a reef, they ran a ship aground. The bow stuck and remained immovable, but the stern was being broken up by the force of the waves. And the soldiers' plan was to kill the prisoners so that none might swim away and escape. But the centurion, wishing to save Paul, kept them from carrying out their plan. He ordered those who could swim to jump overboard first and make for the land, and the rest to follow, some on planks and others on pieces of the ship. And so it was that they were all brought safely to land. I mean, Paul just had a very eventful life in his ministry travels. So this is it's a great story about the ship, stuck. It was going to wreck. It was tossed about on the seas, but God spoke to Paul, and Paul spoke to the centurion, and then they all ended up surviving the shipwreck. But what happens after? I guess we'll find out later. Well, that's all I have for you today, guys. I'll see you tomorrow as we continue our daily lectionary readings. Bye.